Kia ora everyone, welcome to this Facebook live stream. I've got Helen down from the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce here today to answer any questions that you've got and also to cover a range of topics that we're going to be talking about. So Helen, welcome along.
Thank you, Campbell. Lovely to join you today. And yeah, it's a really important day, a bit of a turning point, I think, based on the announcements that will come out today. So it's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for giving up your time. We were just talking before coming on that at 1 o'clock today and a little bit later, there will be a bit more clarity around what level 3 looks like and the importance of that. How is the business community feeling generally? Obviously, with a lot of uncertainty that's out there. And maybe you'd like to touch on a bit about what the Chamber's been doing in response to supporting businesses across the whole entire valley.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Campbell. So in terms of sentiment, you know, I think if you go back, we did a business confidence survey like 10 days prior to lockdown, when people were starting to talk about COVID a bit more. Awareness was still not very good, actually. It's amazing how far we've come. And certainly a massive shock for the business community and a lot of uncertainty. And you can see that confidence certainly went through the floor suddenly, but it's not comparable to anything we've experienced in the past. But what we have definitely seen is that people have adjusted really quickly, and some businesses obviously go straight to fear because their whole industry is quite threatened by COVID by its natural, the way it operates. But others have taken a time to almost hibernate or take a rest and gather their thoughts, and once they've got set up from home or decided what they can and can't do, then they've taken a little bit of time to consider, and now they're really quite keen to move ahead. And mentally, I think they're moving quickly to recovery. And you know, the business community, our business community, is a lot of privately owned individuals who are committed to the Hutt Valley, committed to their staff, have created their own businesses from scratch, and they're really passionate about it. And I spoke to one yesterday that we'll probably talk about a little bit later on. He said, I've been through, he's been in business 145 years, so probably one of our oldest in our whole valley. And he said, and there's nothing that COVID's going to throw at me that's going to stop my business. And so there's a real passion and commitment to recovery, and many are very keen to get back to work in whatever form that is, and to fulfill the export orders that are stuck, and to get their staff back into really safe environment. They're all taking safety very importantly. I know they're interviewing individual staff members if they're an essential business and making sure that their bubbles are safe before they even let them in the business premises. So they've adapted really quickly, doing things they never expected to be doing if you'd asked them a month ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the Chamber's been holding a number of different workshops or webinars and supporting those businesses, particularly those who hadn't been involved in the tech space before. So what's some of the things you've been doing there?
So what we did to start with, it seems like ages ago, it was a quick call to Joe, actually, and a quick conversation with Hutt City Council, and we said, okay, let's have a quick chat about COVID. And this was many weeks ago, actually. And so following on from that, we very quickly set up the Hutt Valley COVID-19 Business Response Team, and that is a group, a collaboration between Hutt City Council, Upper Hutt City Council, and the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce. And we stood that group up actually face to face, which seems now unlikely, but it was at a stage when we could do face to face, and the three entities have got together. We meet every day, and we formed a whole group of people with good connections and with a lot of passion to make sure that our valley business community, you know, from the Rimutakas to Petone, is cared for and is supported, and getting access to as much of the government support that is available, and that we're actually looking after ourselves as well. So a big part of that is making sure that local business supports local business, not bringing in people from, you know, multinationals or that, but harnessing that passion that exists here for local business. And so many businesses are giving their time and expertise and their knowledge and experience through this whole process freely to as many other business owners as they can. And so we've just enabled that. The three groups have got together. We meet every day virtually. Quite a substantial meeting, and we just deal with whatever's in front of us for that day and collaborate. It's great.
Fantastic, and thank you for the work that you're doing in that space. I know it's making a real difference for those who need that additional support. And like you say, often those who are just in the same boat as everyone else and being able to talk through things. So that's great. Now, we know that here in the Hutt, we're really lucky to have such a range of businesses doing amazing things. And it's often behind closed doors because they're in all sorts of garages or warehouses in Seaview or elsewhere across the valley. And we don't really realise what's already happening in our backyard. Do you have any stories you could share about some of those businesses who are operating currently as an essential service to help combat COVID-19?
Yeah, sure. So there's many actually that are operating as an essential service. We've had to help some through the process of being recognised as an essential service. So we've given a lot of support in that space. And it's interesting, one thing that surprised me, that some that are clearly an essential service supplying into our emergency services or into the health sector actually don't want any profile. They don't want anyone to know. In fact, one of them said to me the other day, you guys have been really good working from home. And they feel a sense of guilt in a way, Campbell, that they are still operating while other businesses are really suffering. So several of them said, don't tell anyone that we're operating, but we're supplying to the DHB, or we're supplying to into a massive ICU hospital wing, or something like that. So there's that happening. There's many that don't want to be profiled at all. They just want to quietly get on with their jobs because it is essential for the country's health that we manufacture what we do and we get it out to them. And then there are others that have done really cool things, like Hills Hats is a really interesting example. So that I've been working with them to see if we can get them under the banner of essential. They make hats, but they've been making hats since 1875. They'll be one of our oldest businesses. And Simon and his team have created face masks. So, and actually they've got big cutting tables as well, and they've been used by the Ministry of Education to cut fabric for some of the packs that are being sent out to the schools. Thousands and thousands of pieces of material being cut in Petone as part of the school packs for, it must be a textiles class and stream of the curriculum or something. So, there's those as well. They've created these beautiful face masks that will be really useful. And, it's just been trying to help them. And they've never done face masks before, but they've done hats for 145 years. So there's a lot of those good stories.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see. And I know that, this is the great thing about social media. There's a few downsides, a few issues with misinformation and so forth, but being able to see these businesses operate, and I think Metal Art
Yes.
providing the sanitizer units for Countdown supermarkets across the country, and also teamed up with Powder Coating Services, who are the recipient of the Mayor's Award actually at the recent business awards that we had last year. It feels like a long time ago now since then. But yeah, so it's great to see those businesses teaming up and doing some really good stuff to help combat COVID-19.
Yeah, sure. And another really interesting one is Fraser's Engineering. So most people don't know, but we manufacture fire engines in Wingate, and Martin's team and Fraser's export those, and they supply to the New Zealand Fire Service. So clearly an essential service because they supply all the spare parts, but they've also supplied thousands of face visors to our local DHB. And Martin had never had a contract to work with the DHB, didn't know anyone at the DHB, and never made a face visor before. But, it's really important that our local DHB has access to good quality face visors and can get them straight away. And so you can see many of our businesses have a huge contribution to make. I think that's an important part of the next phase we go to around recovery. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I know one thing that you're really passionate about, Helen, is in that education space and tackling the skills shortage issue, which has been identified by businesses across the Hutt Valley and across the country as one of the biggest challenges, is finding people with the right skills to operate in the workplace. Do you think that will change, that issue will change, or is there any opportunities given the COVID-19 situation when we get on the other side, do you think, in that space?
Yeah, on what we would consider to be skills shortages. And I think what it may do is, what it's likely to do, is change the type of skills we need. So I'm sure all people in business have developed a lot of new tech skills over the last 3 or 4 weeks that some of us didn't actually ever want to develop, but we've been forced to. And I think that there's, they become very important skills going forward from COVID-19. I think that, we're seeing in terms of our most recent survey, and that was taken during this process, still about 30% of our business still intend to hire this year. So certainly some are reducing staff and changing their skills mix, but the type of people you might recruit going forward may have different skills than what you expected. I certainly have several vacancies at the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce that we need to fill this year. First of all, I've got to get my head around how do you recruit in a COVID-19 environment. That's one step. And once you've sorted that bit out, then what different skills do you now need that you didn't even realize you needed, say, a month ago?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that's there's also a whole area of work that I know we've talked a lot about, Campbell, in the past around this education to employment and getting some of our younger people into trades locally. And we have, as you know, 2 contracts with government to deliver that for the Hutt Valley over the next year or so. And that is still a really important piece of work now, considering a lot of our young people are engaged at a distance from their school. So it'll change the way we deliver those services, but still hugely important to engage our young people into the workforce locally.
Absolutely. One other thing that we've done at the council is get a list together for government around shovel-ready projects. And I know that we've shared that information with yourself, Helen, at the Chamber. But I just want to touch on the important role that you think that we're all going to play, but also local government and councils, and making sure that if we are facing a recession, which is, I think is very, very likely, as we know, how do we get out of that as quickly as possible, and providing that work locally in our communities, and also doing it in a smart way, so we're engaging local suppliers and so forth on projects that we're doing. So on that list, for those of you who are unaware, we've got Nine Eye Pool, we've also got our wharves at Batoni Wharf, we've got the Eastern Bay Shared Path, we've got a package around 3 water infrastructure, and also part of a regional council submission which looks at a few different things as well. So Helen, do you want to touch on the importance of those types of projects in your view, the role that they'll play post COVID-19 and as we get the economy back up and running again?
Yeah, sure. So those types of projects are good opportunities for our young people to be employed locally and to get some practical vocational type trade experience as well. I think it's very important to have that investment that sparks further investment from the private sector as well. Those sorts of investments also enable the private sector to do their jobs well. So I think it's really important because it keeps not only does it provide employment, but it provides a sense of confidence and encouragement for other people to invest locally as well. So I think it's not just employment, but further. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And so as we get on to the other side of this, and as we go to level 3, which we're not sure exactly, potentially, obviously that announcement or call hasn't been made yet, but if we get to level 3, what do you see as the biggest challenge for business generally across the Hutt and across the country as we move through to that phase?
Okay. Yeah. I think in the short term, there will be some confusion around what is a safe business. So the definition of safe and how to comply will be that'll generate a lot of questions. So over the next week, we are certainly looking to provide a lot of live videos and information around safety and compliance so that you can get your physical distancing. We're trying to get together a session next week on contact register tech that you can use. We'll probably have that Wednesday. I'm just trying to secure some technology people. We'll probably use layer 3. We've been using them every week for tech, so we'll probably have a session on that. And so in the short term, there will be that piece around how do we become compliant? How do we get certified or whatever, if that needs to happen, or are there audits or whatever? But business is already thinking about that. But manufacturers have already been, our manufacturers are thinking about it. Our cafes, our restaurants are already doing stuff in that space. And I think it's really important that we create an environment where we enable our clever business people to be innovative and try some new stuff. And all we have to do as consumers is, support them, be patient with them, and try and help. It's hard for them, so be patient with them and buy local. I mean, you just buy local. If you're going to buy online, there's so many retailer stores. I only have 2 that have put up online stores this week, and they've been not doing it for years. So try and hunt down your local supplier. Have a look on the website, huttvalleyNZ.com page, which we'll be updating to make sure we show you which online stores are available. Just buy local. And help those business owners. Give them a bit of confidence. Give them a bit of support.
And we know that that's going to make a huge difference if we can support local. It also supports local jobs as well. We know that some of the numbers coming through already, the job seeker benefit, are pretty eye-opening, and I know that's happening across the country. But it's really important that we shop local, we support local, and I know we'll be doing that as a council with some of these big projects that we have planned as well, which is going to be obviously a boost. But the more it can be happening at a grassroots level, the bigger the difference that will make.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Helen. I think that covers it. We haven't had too many questions come through, so you must have put out all the information and answered everyone's queries. So either that, or people were tuning in to listen to the Prime Minister as well. So, but thank you so much, and thank you for all the work that you're doing and supporting business right across the Hutt Valley. It really is making a huge difference, and I know that we at the Hutt City Council really treasure that relationship and working together to get through this together, and what our environment and what our world looks like on the other side.
Thank you, Campbell. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your support.
No problem. And if you've got any questions for Helen, please feel free to post them in the comments, and we'll make sure that we get them covered as well. So even if you're not watching this live, fire them through, and we'll make sure that we get some answers back to you as well. But thanks everyone, and I will have another live stream later today at 4 o'clock, just sort of a daily update generally on COVID-19 issues, and we also will have some more information from government, and that will be with Councillor Rashid. So looking forward to that, but feel free to tune in then. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.